Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome and thanks for watching. So as you can probably tell, this video is about what you're supposed to do once you find out you're pregnant. So having kids is one of the most wonderful things you can ever do. Sometimes they kind of complicate your life, but for the most part, you know, they make your life so much more worth living, if that makes any sense. So I figured I would go ahead and tell you what you should do when you find out you're pregnant. First of all, if you haven't taken a test and you just are thinking that you're pregnant, you might not be, and I would go ahead and recommend taking a test. If you have not missed your last period, then, and you're just thinking that you are, it could just be in your mind, because there's several times where people like freak out because they think they're pregnant, but they're just freaking out. I mean, it happens. And I think that women, for the most part, go through a lot of the pregnancy symptoms. Like, you go through different hormones all the time. And so it is possible that what is going on in your body is just a normal hormone fluctuation. So if you think you could be pregnant, my number one thing for you to do is go ahead and take a pregnancy test. I think that one of the biggest things is it doesn't matter what pregnancy test it is. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, go ahead and buy the most expensive one. But the thing is if you've missed your period and you're past it, you know, $1 pregnancy test should work just as well. And if I'm being honest, with both of my kids, I used $1 pregnancy tests. And then once I got the results back where it showed that it was kind of like an in-between, you saw the red line or whatever, but you weren't quite sure, I went ahead and I bought a more expensive one. Looking back, I didn't have to buy a more expensive one because it was, if there's a red line, you're probably pregnant. But I recommend if you're going to go ahead and buy $1 one or something, go ahead and buy 2 or 3. You're already going to have to, you know, pee in a cup anyways, and you're going to have to use the, I mean, obviously it depends on the brand, but the one I use, you have like a little suction thing, and you sucked up the pee, and then you suck it in, you just like stick it inside of the pregnancy test. But that's just the one I used. But I recommend getting at least 2, and if both of them show that you're pregnant, you probably are. My number 2 thing to go ahead and do after that is I recommend you going ahead and calling your normal doctor. I don't think you necessarily need to make a doctor's appointment straight to your OBGYN. You don't necessarily have to. I know it was easier for me to get in with my family doctor than it was for me to get in through an, you know, OBGYN, because I honestly did not have one, and most people don't have one. So I went to my regular doctor and I asked them to go ahead and do blood work to see if I was pregnant. Usually they can give you the results that day, or they can give it to you within like 24, 48 hours. I don't know, it just depends on the doctor. I know I got the results back the same day because they did like the urine test and the blood test, and within both of them it showed I was pregnant both times. After you find out you're pregnant, I would definitely recommend going ahead and picking an OBGYN. I think that there's things that you can look for with it, but if I'm being completely honest, I feel like for the most part they all do exactly the same thing, and that is definitely not going to discredit from any of the super amazing OBGYNs that there are, because I can tell you right now there was definitely a difference between my first OBG and my second one. My first one just didn't really care, and so when I had my daughter, he just didn't really care what was going on, and I felt like I had a lot of unanswered questions, and since it was my first one, I was really worried. But by my second one, I wasn't so worried, so finding an OBGYN was not the biggest deal. I just wanted someone that I felt like was going to be there when I needed, you know, when I needed someone to be there, obviously. I didn't have as many questions my second time around, so it wasn't as big of a deal. But if it's your first pregnancy and you really want someone that's going to be there, maybe do your research. Look online, try to get reviews, ask around, whatever you want to do. I also think that it's important not necessarily to tell everyone that you're pregnant right away either. I think that sometimes people get over anxious, and sometimes your pregnancy test could say that you're pregnant, but you're not. And I also think it's important for you to find out exactly how far along you are. So with both of my pregnancies, I had actually skipped my periods like for a few months beforehand. And I had not known, well, I mean, I had not exactly known when I got pregnant. So with my daughter, when I went in, I thought, when I went into my OBGYN, I already knew I was pregnant because I went to my doctor first. But when I went ahead and went into the OBGYN, I thought I was probably only about 6 weeks pregnant, and then it turned out I was 10 weeks pregnant. And I had no. So I think it's important for you to know how far along you are before you start revealing the news to everyone. And some people, like for me with my son, I did not want to tell anyone until I had passed the first trimester. I just wanted to make sure everything was good and everything was safe before I went ahead and told people. Now, that isn't to say that I didn't tell like my family. I did tell my family a little bit beforehand. When I found out I was pregnant, I waited a few weeks just to make sure that I was like the baby was going to be fine and that type of stuff. And then I went ahead and told my parents, told my husband's parents, and went ahead and told my friends as well. But I do think it's important before you just go on and tell everyone. Now, this is just a personal thing. Like, I want to make sure that everything is good before I tell everyone that it's happening. So I think that personally, it was important to me to keep it private until, then. But when you first find out you're pregnant, obviously you need to tell the person that you're with that you are pregnant, and so that you guys can get together and figure out what you need to do. For me, with both of my pregnancies, I was lucky enough to have my husband there wanting to take the test with me. And so if you can do that, I say taking the test with them is going to be so much more positive, because then they can see it, they understand it, and you together can decide what to do next. Your next step that you definitely need to do is after your OBGYN or before, because sometimes there is a little bit of a period that it takes to get into an OBGYN, especially if it's your first visit. I had to wait, I think it was a month before I could get in with my OBGYN with my son. Now, my daughter, I think it took 2 to 3 weeks to get in. So obviously there's a little bit of leeway. Now, if it says you're pregnant on the pregnancy test, your doctor has already confirmed it, I would recommend looking at prenatals. Honestly, doesn't matter the type. I just found that there was a 2-step pill form that I took. I can't remember the brand off the top of my head. I believe it was like from Walgreens or something. Anyways, that one didn't make me feel so great. So I ended up taking the gummy prenatals, which not only tasted good, but made me feel good as well. And I still take them even now with breastfeeding, because it made my hair pretty, it made my nails pretty. I mean, my hair is a mess now, but it wasn't while I was pregnant. So I went ahead and I took those from the beginning, because I think that prenatals are very helpful throughout your pregnancy. And my last thing to do is make sure you relax. Don't stress out. You don't want to be stressed out throughout your whole pregnancy. Having a baby is a blessing, and you need to remember that. Whatever circumstance you're under, your life is going to change either way, and it's going to change for the better, I promise. Having a kid is only a blessing, really. I mean, it makes, like I said before, it makes life a little bit difficult, but not in a bad way by any means. So you're just going to have to change your game plan, sort of. Like, if it's an unexpected pregnancy, you're just going to have to change your game plan, and it's all going to be okay. So just don't stress out. The more you stress out, the baby's going to tell, and you don't want your baby to be stressed out too. I just think it's important that everyone you just relax, calm down, and it's all good. So if you like these type of videos, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll have lots more videos like this coming soon, so subscribe and you'll see them. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day.